Welcome into the Saints Insider Podcast. Today is Friday, October the 17th. Zach Ewing with Rod Walker, Luke Johnson, and Jeffrey Duncan. And on this podcast, I think we're going to start using full names. Roderick, Lucas, and Jeffrey.
Please don't.
I like that.
We can't do that.
Zachariah.
It's
Just full names, full pants, can't lose, right, Jeff?
Yeah. Oh, wait, my ankle's showing a little bit.
All right, yeah, cover it up.
Yeah.
Cover it up. This podcast is brought to you by Bank Plus. From small business to big business, home loans to Bank Anywhere technology, Bank Plus is here for New Orleans. New deposit customers can reach out today to learn about incredible rate specials. Learn more at bankplus.net. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Check them out. All your banking needs, New Orleans people for New Orleans people. All right, we're going to talk Saints Bears. Talk a little Dennis Allen action. Matthew Paris, who's not here, is up in Chicago. He was talking to DA. He was talking to some of DA's players about what it's like. That story just went up on NOLA.com/Saints. And so, yeah, this is one that I think a lot of people had circled, Luke.
Including Dennis Allen? Oh, you said Luke. You said Lucas.
Yeah, I said Lucas, sorry. You're right, Rod. You can chime in if you want.
Roderick. Yeah. What do you think, Rod? Like, what's been your vibe about this, like, Dennis Allen thing? 'Cause I kind of got the sense that the players are, at least outwardly, don't really care much about it.
The Saints players?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's kind of how they kind of took it. But I think on the other side, I think Dennis Allen cares about it. I think he
does.
He won't say it, obviously, but he wants to win this game, and I know we'll get into all that. But, yeah, it's definitely the storyline for we've been talking about it since the schedule came out.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating. The only way it would be better, obviously, if it's in the Dome and Dennis Allen had to come back to the Dome. That would have been amazing, which maybe we'll get that in the next couple of years. But
I do think that there is a revenge game aspect on both sides. One for Dennis Allen, right? Like I'll show you what you did by letting me go. And two, maybe not for the Saints players, maybe with the exception of Kendre Miller.
There's one Saints player.
But I know the Saints fan base wants to see him, stuff him in a dumpster for a week. Like I know, like if they had to pick one game on the schedule for the Saints to drop 45, 50 points, it would be this week. Like I think they want to see the Saints take it to Dennis Allen. Maybe more so than any other game this year outside of like the Falcons game. Because there's a lot of people here who just like really didn't like what Dennis Allen did with the franchise and the direction he took it. So even though I personally liked DA, like he was good to us. I think he's a good football coach. Maybe not a head coach, but fan base definitely wants to see this score run up as much as the Saints possibly can do it.
But as much as the Saints fans want that, I think they do have this really high level of respect for him when he's just focused on that one side of the ball. And
he was an awesome defensive coordinator.
I think Saints fans know that and they appreciate that part of it. And I see people on Twitter like, yeah, Dennis Allen's gonna have this team ready, and it's kind of like my thoughts a little bit too. So
I don't know, Jeff. Do Saints fans hate Dennis Allen, or are they just glad he's gone?
Well, I can distinctly remember the day he got fired. I posted on social media probably an hour or two after it that I think he'll be worthy of Saints Hall of Fame consideration down the road. And I got excoriated in the moment. Maybe it was a little too soon, but I do think so. I definitely think he's going to be worthy of being considered for as long as he coached in that level and that defense and how he turned it around. I mean, I think Sidwell's in the Hall of Fame for the Dome Patrol, and I think DA is going to certainly deserve consideration. It's weird. I mean, I feel like everyone's reductive so much, and I know he was the head coach, and it all kind of the buck stops with the head coach. But I feel like everything that's gone wrong, everybody blames Dennett. He's like an easy, blame for everything. The Kendre Miller thing's a good example. I mean, we'll probably talk about that, but Kendre Miller isn't a victim here. He there's a reason he was in the doghouse. Other coaches will tell you that. It wasn't just a DA thing. So I think everyone's wanting to cast him as the whole reason that the organization is struggling. I think it's bigger than him, in my opinion.
Oh, for sure. But I mean, to your point though, the buck does stop at the head coach, and I think he probably didn't help himself by the way he framed a lot of stuff. He certainly didn't help himself with the record, even though there's a lot of stuff, as Mickey Loomis was wont to point out, that there's a lot of stuff that contributed to their record in the years under Dennis Allen. There was the kind of misfire on the Derek Carr trade that they thought was going to elevate them, and it didn't. There's a lot of stuff that goes into that tenure that people aren't going to look back fondly on. But, as a defensive coordinator, I mean, that run from like 17 to 20, 4-season stretch, like they had like a top 10 defense every year. They were disgusting against the run. They made Tom Brady look terrible in a lot of those Bucs games, and when Tom was still kind of at the height of his powers. So I think he did a lot of great things here, and there's a lot of guys still in that locker room who appreciated what he did for their careers. But this week's a different story.
His ultimate undoing was he couldn't solve the quarterback situation. Really, I mean, they went all in for Deshaun Watson. That would have been a complete disaster. I mean, they were all in on him. Remember, like they had Gail Benson flying to Atlanta to sit down with him and everything. I mean, they were all in. That fell apart. They fell back on Plan B with Jameis. That didn't work. Then they go to Carr because of familiarity with him. That didn't work. So, him being a defensive guy, he probably needed help there, and I don't think he got a lot of help in picking a quarterback.
And I was just going to throw in there, like, this fan base, like, it's not really like a forgiving fan base. Like, once they don't like it, like, they rarely, like, come around and, like, you know what, he wasn't that bad. They still hate Chris Paul in New Orleans. Like and Anthony Davis' situation a little different. Jared Cook, like, if you make one mistake, like, they don't really get over it, I don't think. So,
Dead to me.
So people came around on Jimmy Graham because I remember when he left and the whole tight end wide receiver, there was a lot of rancor in the fan base, and all of a sudden he became like a hero when he came back.
Well, we'll see if time heals all wounds when Dennis Allen's the Saints defensive coordinator in 2032.
Gosh. All right.
Or head coach, maybe.
Let's set the scene real quick for this one. It is at noon on Sunday at Soldier Field. Is this probably the Saints' last game in Soldier Field? When is the new place supposed to
I don't know. I'm
It's
actually
like
the wrong person.
6 years,
It's too bad we don't
Is it
have
still 6
Matthew
years?
Paris on here to ask that question.
Okay, we may get one more Saints game in Soldier Field if it's going to be 6 years.
What division they got next year?
It is the North next year, but I would think that means that the Bears are coming here.
No,
Well,
it doesn't
Doesn't
necessarily
necessarily
work that
mean
way.
that. Yeah, they could-
I mean, there's been years where like we've traveled. Like I think we went to Philly for 3 straight years. So there's definitely
It could match
Yeah.
up in the division.
Saints could
finish
go
same
ahead and go
spot.
there next year, so maybe not. But one of their last trips to Soldier Field before they open the new place. The betting line is kind of going all over the place. It is currently Bears by 5 with a slightly above average over-under of 46.5. So the Saints are underdogs, but this is not like, when we talk about the Saints season, playing a lot of close games, like this figures to be another one.
I think so.
I think we all think so. We'll get to our predictions at
I
the end
actually
of the
think
show.
5.5 I think it's a lot, but
You think it's too many?
yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was like 5.5, and I've seen 4.5 in some places. We're using Caesar's Sportsbook. It's 5, so it's right in that range. There's not a huge difference between.
I think the
between 4 and
Bengals were 5.5 point underdogs last night. We saw how that turned out.
Mike Tomlin has never won a divisional road game on a Thursday. He's like 0-8 now.
That's
So,
random.
it's random.
Wish I
that
would
he's
have known
played
that last night before
Yeah.
kickoff.
But anyway, real quick on DA before we dig into the game, I do wonder. Like Blake Grupe's field goal goes through at Lambeau Field a couple years ago. Pete Werner. No, it wasn't Pete Werner. It was who had the interception in Houston, then fumbled it back away.
I think it was Zach Bond.
Yeah, Zach. Like if Zach Bond holds on to that ball, there were that one particular year there were so many close calls, and the Saints ended up one game short of the playoffs. Like, how much differently? We've had this conversation before, but like, even if the DA era eventually ends, if he had just had that 1 year of success, it feels like he's remembered differently.
I don't know.
You don't think so?
Ball don't lie. I think there's like that stuff happens to teams that aren't ready for that sort of thing. Your rookie kicker who you kept in place of the established guy misses a field goal in week 2. Like that stuff happens. That's part of that decision making chain. Zach Bond, he made a great play on that, but he barely played and he was on the field at that point. I think more than anything, if they wouldn't have had just such terrible injury luck over his tenure, I think you're talking about a team that maybe made the playoffs a couple times.
And then he's still here.
Right. I mean, the Derek Carr thing. His first year, he didn't miss any games, but he got hurt multiple times, and was a definite question mark going into games, and he was definitely not playing at the level that they expected him to in those games. So like there's so much stuff that added up to it, but at the end of the day, I mean, like there's a lot of stuff that they did wrong too. I mean, you could bring up those points, but you could also say like, look at all the late leads that the defensive-minded head coach blew during his tenure. I mean, it was like over and over and over and over again. Even when they were 2-0 last year, and I guess 2-1, right? When the Eagles came to town, were they 2-1 at that point?
2-0.
2-0.
Yeah.
2-0, and they had a late lead, and they give up a 61-yard catch and run on a mesh play that the Eagles run constantly. We see Kellen Moore run that constantly now, and that's stuff that you expect the defensive-minded head coach to be prepared for and have his players prepared for, and they weren't, and that was kind of a consistent problem with them over the years. So, like, even though there's a lot of stuff that you can say, like, if the ball bounced this way, if the ball bounced that way, if this guy doesn't get hurt, yada, 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 there's, like, so many other opportunities for them to overcome that, and they never did.
Yeah, and I think now you're getting people riled up again, I'm sure, talking about all this stuff. It's funny because the Bears are actually coming off of a game Monday night where they were the ones who came back late. They got a little luck, Jaden Daniels fumbling a snap in the rain sort of thing. But the Bears come back. Their defense has not been that good. We'll talk about that next. We're going to take a break, and then we will begin our Saints-Bears breakdown on the Saints Insider right after this.
Banking has come to a crossroads. Do you want to bank with an actual bank, with actual people? One that you can walk into. Or drive through, get real help from a real person. Or do you want a bank that lives inside your phone? A digital bank that gives you control of your money anywhere, anytime. Well, why not both? Bank Plus, a partner in your corner, wherever that may be.
Did they ask you to do the commercial too?
Yeah, but they just gave me one line.
Bet like a Caesar. Like, we're going to sit here and we're going to tell them how Caesar's Sportsbook is just so easy to use that you can watch and bet thousands of sports events, even some NFL games.
They'll probably show us betting on our favourite players and teams at all the Vegas hotspots too.
Like, we have time for that montage.
I told him I couldn't do it.
They couldn't afford me.
Welcome back to the Saints Insider, where we're reliving Dennis Allen horror stories, late game scenario.
Jeff just brought up the 2022 Tampa game. Forgot all about that. I'd scrubbed that from my memory.
Saints lead 16-3 with like 5 minutes left and let the Bucs come back. It's the Mark Ingram fumble game, or not a fumble.
Not a fumble. He
ran out of bounds.
He ran out of bounds.
He got hurt.
First down.
He got hurt on the play, and he ran out of bounds
Yeah.
a yard shy of the marker, even though he had.
We could do
Could've
this.
gotten it, yeah.
We could do this for a whole podcast. There are old podcasts where we discuss these. You can check them out on the Saints Insider feed on YouTube. As I said, we're going to do our predictions later in the show, and I have a shout out for one of you who got a very, very close to the final score of last week's game. So that is coming as we do our predictions. But we will continue on here with our game breakdown. We are brought to you by Bank Plus, and we'll start, as we always do, when the Saints have the ball. Rod, I want to talk about Kendre Miller, because guess what? Speaking of Dennis Allen, the Bears have the NFL's 31st ranked rushing defense. Does that sound familiar to anyone? And Kendre Miller would love to take advantage of that.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be when we get to our breakdowns. The stuff I think the Saints need to be able to run the ball this week. If they can't. But I think it's going to be hard to do because Dennis Allen knows that, and I think he's a smart enough defensive coordinator that he'll have a plan to stop the Saints running game. But I do think this is a big game for Kendre and Alvin if they can, find a way to get it done.
Saints are mostly healthy. Alvin is a little banged up, right? Look, did he limited in practice or did he miss Wednesday?
Yeah, he missed Wednesday's practice. He was limited yesterday, but he'll go. He'll go.
But the good news is for Dennis Allen, he never gives up big games to backup running backs, especially
Sean
ones.
Tucker.
Anyway, the story with Kendre Miller, for those who don't remember, Kendre Miller was just kind of constantly in and out of the doghouse with Dennis Allen. He got hurt on the first play of training camp last year, and Dennis Allen kind of famously, instead of saying, it's unfortunate or whatever, said, I'm paraphrasing here, but in so many words, he said Kendre Miller didn't show up ready to physically compete out here, and that's why he pulled his hamstring. And so, there was a bunch of stuff like that. When Dennis Allen was fired, Kendre Miller, he looked like Tim Robbins in Shawshank Redemption in the locker room, like he was so happy to have escaped. said it was a fresh start. I don't know. I think we mentioned this earlier, but he's the one guy who I think this is kind of a revenge spot for.
Yeah, I think so. And to Dunk's point, we can't just let Kendre off the hook here.
Right.
He was hurt. I looked it up yesterday. His first 2 seasons, he played 14 out of 34 possible games. And some of that, there was some criticism about last year. He missed, I think, the first 7 weeks of the season. He came back, played 2 games, got hurt again, and the Saints were just whatever, go to IR. And there was some criticism about did he really need to put him on IR? Is that just vindictive stuff? Whatever. But the fact remains that Kendrick just could not stay on the field, and Dennis was clearly frustrated with that. And it wasn't just the injury stuff. It was, is he in the playbook enough? Does he know his assignments and given plays, et cetera, et cetera? They were really high on him when they picked him, and they just got frustrated with him over 2 years. But the frustration went both ways. Kendre was really frustrated with how the team handled it. So yeah, I absolutely think he's motivated to go out and have a big game this week. We'll see if he does. I mean, the Bears, they gave up 240 rushing yards to the Raiders a couple weeks ago. The Raiders are not a good rushing attack, even with Ashton Genty. They've given up at least 120 in every game that they've played this year. So they are gettable on the ground. And I think if the Saints are going to get there, they're going to need a big day out of Kendre. It's got to be a little bit like the Buffalo game, where they take advantage of a bad defense by using their 2 backs in very complementary roles. Maybe we'll see some more Taysom Hill this week. We didn't see much of him last week. So I think there's a chance there for the Saints to exploit that and then open up avenues for Spencer Rattler to take some shots downfield.
Jeff, is this the springboard to Kendre leading the team in rushing?
I hope so. I want that Clancy's. What was that, dinner or lunch?
You want to finally be on the right side of the Clancy's bet?
Side of a losing bet. Look, I do think Kendre Miller in a lot of ways is kind of the case study in some of the issues that DA had as a head coach. He struggled, I think, to relate to some of the younger players on the team. And if he's not the one relating to them, then he needed to find somebody that could. He couldn't to some degree. I know Joel Thomas had some issues also with Kendre Miller. So it wasn't just DA, but it never got solved. And so that ultimately has to go back to Dennis Allen. You got to get the most out of your players. But I do think Kendre Miller is going to be very motivated to show up Dennis Allen. I think there's going to be some emotion there. And I think he's coming on to becoming their primary rusher down the road. I know they're always going to split it with Alvin, but he's the future at running back. And look, he's going to break one soon. I mean, he's a very difficult guy to tackle. He's explosive, but he's got strong lower body. He's got good balance, and he's been just a tackle or 2 away from breaking a big one. And the offense desperately needs it. I mean, when's the last time they had a 50-yard run? I can't even remember.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, I mean, anybody they just never get that in their offense. You saw, I know Bijan Robinson's a freak, but you just never see that element in the Saints offense.
No doubt. So how does this work? Is Kellen Moore aware Kendre wants to be fed? Does Kendre go to Kellen Moore and say, hey, I mean, I wonder if there's a conversation that actually takes place there.
I don't think the Saints coaching staff operates that way.
I don't think Kellen like that.
I don't think Kellen operates that way. I think he's a very player forward coach, but I don't think that would be more of a Sean Payton thing to do.
Oh, for sure.
And look, they've been behind in almost every game. So that everybody's like, well, I want to see more Kendre Miller. Well, when you're down 14-3 right off the bat, I mean, it's hard to just feed the running game a lot.
And I don't think Kendre is the kind of guy that would go up to Kellen anyway and say, hey, I don't know if he's really like that. I think he wants to, but I don't think he would. I just don't know if he's kind of laid back to me, and I don't know if he'd do that.
That's why I'm curious about it. Is he's going to get opportunities just naturally, but I don't know that the Saints are actually going to push that as a coaching staff. So we'll see.
Yeah, they're going to have to avoid not allowing a touchdown on the first 2 drives for the 5th straight week if they want to get Kendre Miller involved.
That's coming up. But we have actually set a record, I think, for the last year and a half on how long it's been since we've mentioned Spencer Rattler's name on this podcast, because I don't think we have yet. The Bears' strength of their defense has been the pass rush. Rattler's been pretty good at avoiding sacks. Bears' secondary is banged up. Jalen Johnson's been out for the whole year. He's their top corner. It feels like this is gettable for Rattler too.
For me, I know we haven't really we don't really talk about this much, but the weather up there is not supposed to be great. It's like 100% chance of rain, 61 degrees. So I don't know if this is even a game where Rattler's going to be able to throw the ball a whole lot anyway. That's why I'm kind of leaning towards a heavy run game in this game.
How are you going to be dressed, Rod? Like, how many layers?
I can handle 6 to 1.
Okay.
I am surprised that you volunteered for this trip.
I got
Rod's usually like below the sun.
This is a family
I got
over
family
weather
in Chicago.
thing.
That's the only thing.
Rod stays below the Mason-Dixon line.
Buffalo and Chicago in the same year.
Well, Buffalo was September. Well, it was October, I guess, wasn't it? Yeah,
September.
Anyway, I think look, if you're looking at the one thing the Bears have done really well this year, it's forced turnovers, and they're doing it when teams are passing the ball. They have 8 interceptions this year, ranked second in the NFL, and that's despite the fact they've only played 5 games. They've already had their bye week, so I think that's something they got to watch out for. Kevin Byard is like on the wrong end of 30. He didn't play great last year, but he's got 3 picks. They've got some guys who will take the ball away in that secondary. So even though Spencer has avoided those plays this year, he's only got 1 interception. If you look at like PFF, he's got 9 turnover-worthy throws.
He's had some close calls.
So, and he's had a couple picks called back because of penalties. So it's got to be like he's got to be like on the level this week because they will take advantage of it. They've got 3 straight games with at least 3 turnovers forced, and 2 of those games they forced 4. So it's I think they have to lean on the running game and when the play is there for Spencer to make it. And I do want to say that, like, I've seen some people say they want to see, the Saints, like, open it up more with Spencer Rattler and call more deep shots. They're calling plenty of deep shots. They're just not there.
Yeah.
And I don't think Kellen wants to see it. I don't think Spencer wants to do it. I don't think you want to just, like, pull the trigger on something just because you're dialing up a deep shot. You want to see them connect on more of them, but, like, I think this week in particular with a secondary that knows how to take the ball away, you don't want to just like chuck it up there and hope something good happens.
Okay, we'll flip over to when the Bears have the ball. Speaking of quarterbacks who have shown growth this year, Caleb Williams under Ben Johnson's attack. Jeff, what do you see from Caleb this year that maybe we didn't see last year under the previous coaching staff?
Well, I think he's improved a lot under Ben Johnson, which everybody expected. He's been really good on third down. His third down conversion rate, I think, is 45%, which is when I did this column this week on ranking the 2024 quarterbacks. I mean, he ranked high in a lot of situations, which I think is key to being, that's the next level of quarterback play. And he's high in that area. He's still a little inconsistent. His completion percentage is low, but that tends to rise as the more reps you get in the league. And he's, he still holds the ball and tries to make plays, out of schedule. Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. So I think he's developing well. I mean, they've won 3 games in a row. He has shown a little bit of a ability to come back. I think that's the one area that Rattler has yet to really author a comeback. He just has yet to have a comeback drive, a moment that will solidify him as a starter. Caleb Williams, I think, has 1 comeback drive. That's the area that you see these young quarterbacks, I think, struggle a little bit, being able to do that. That's actually one area that Bo Nix is really good at. I think he's got 5 comeback wins, and Jaden Daniels has shown that. So, it'll be interesting to see if this game's tight in the fourth quarter, which one of these 2 quarterbacks is able to be the one that finishes off the other opponent.
I think the thing that stood out to me about Caleb Williams, and I think could present the Saints some trouble this week, is he has, if you go look at next gen stats, he has the longest time to throw out of any quarterback in the NFL this year. It's over 3 seconds, and I don't think that's because the Bears offensive line is doing this like exceptional job of pass protection. I think Caleb's doing a good job extending plays. And we've seen this young secondary break down a couple times this year when it has to be sticky with wide receivers after the quarterback is extending plays. So that's the area that really, concerns me. Caleb's like a 9-2 touchdown to interception right now. It's pretty good. He's only completing like 61% of his passes though, and we'll see if the Saints can keep that up because they've been like north of 70 for most of the year in completion percentage allowed. We'll see if they're able to dial up some more pressure stuff with the second week of Chase Young back. They haven't gotten nearly enough pass rush. And I don't know how much they really want to do that against Caleb if he's going to be extending plays. So I don't know. It's a really interesting matchup for me. And I'm not exactly sure what this is going to look like for the Saints defense.
And Williams will run 5 to 6 times a game too. He has 28 carries in 5 games. And the other thing, Rod, is this is a pretty talented receiving core. Like Luke's talking about the stress on this Saints secondary. DJ Moore, who's banged up right now.
Yeah, it's a hip injury. I think he's probably going to be questionable.
And then, but they have Roma Dunze. They drafted Luther Burden this year. They have Zacchaeus.
Lamine Zacchaeus.
Of course, I'm going to bring up Luther Burden. But the
Mizzou.
MIZ. The secondary is going to be stressed.
Yeah, I mean, this will be another test for him. And going back to Caleb, I mean, he doesn't turn the ball. I mean, you mentioned his interceptions. He's only thrown 8 interceptions since he's been in the league. So, I mean, he's done a really good job of keeping the ball. But, I think we need to see another good game from Kool-Aid and Alante and all those guys because they're going to be tested. And, again, I just don't know how the weather's going to impact this game. Maybe we won't see as many passes as we think if it's windy and rainy and all that. So,
that's a good
that'll
point.
be something to keep an eye on.
And DeAndre Swift is coming off his first 100-yard game of the season, too, for the Bears.
He'd been he's struggling.
He had been, but they got it going last week against Washington.
That's now like 2 out of 3 times we've gone to Rod and he's mentioned the weather, so we know where his head. But in all seriousness, I mean, it is going to rain at some point in this game, just like it rained on Monday night in the Bears game. We saw how that affected that game. So I think it is something to keep an eye on. Okay, quick special teams note: the Bears won the game on Jake Moody's game-winning field goal, but they've had all sorts of kicker problems. We know Blake Grupe's had his problems. He looked good last week, but again, the background of the weather. This is good.
It's not just the weather there too. It's the turf. The turf. Oh yeah, the turf at Soldier Field has cost many kickers opportunities.
I do wonder. Ben Johnson, we know, is kind of an aggressive young head coach. I think Kellen Moore, although he's kind of gone back and forth on it a couple times, I think we see some 4th down goes, especially in plus territory this week.
That's been like my biggest critique of Kellen Moore this year. Is he's just like he hasn't really stuck to being conservative or aggressive. It's just like it's just like kind of it feels random. I'm sure it's not. Like everything that guy does is like really thought out. But it's like some games it's like, okay, do you go for the 54-yard field goal? No, you're going to punt. Some games they go for it on 4th down. Some days they opt for the long field. It's just there hasn't felt like any rhyme or reason to some of the decisions on 4th downs or these specific unique situations. Sometimes he's aggressive and sometimes he's not. So I'm curious to see which one it is on Sunday.
The other thing that seems a little random is the Saints playing on kickoffs, both returning and kicking off. Jeff, like they're missing the landing zone, and then other times they're just kicking in the end zone. And I'd be curious to know what the goal is on that.
I talked to Groupie about that randomly the other day, just exactly about that. He said when you miss the landing zone short, he said it's always just a mishit. And he said what's happening a lot of times is they're a lot of these kickers, including himself, are trying to kick a knuckleball to where it's going to bounce funny. And he said you mishit that a lot. And so he said this week will be a big special teams kicking game because of the things we're talking about. The weather, the turf's terrible there. It's always big chunks of the turf come up. I mean, the grass doesn't grow there for whatever reason. It doesn't kind of stay rooted at Soldier Field. And I think Cairo Santos is still out, right, for the Bears.
I think it's a Moody game again.
Yeah, I think he's back. But the Saints special teams, I mean, we haven't talked, I know we did a few weeks ago, but I mean, they're like the worst in the league by far. So this could be an area that decides a game like this. With the weather you're talking about and rain, it could come down to a turnover or a block. I mean, the Bears had 2 blocked the other night. I think Moody had two field goals blocked. So that's the one area the Saints have avoided field goal wise, or place kick wise. I don't think they've had one blocked on a place kick, and everybody in the league feels like they've had one blocked. So to me, that's going to be a huge factor in the game. And I keep going back to that. Is that really a big point of emphasis for Kellen Moore? It feels like it's a blind spot for him early in his career. Now, he's young. This is part of the growing pains of a young head coach, but it's certainly an area the Saints need to get better at.
Okay. Our keys to the game, that might be one of them. But we'll start with you, Rod. What is your key to the Saints getting the first road win of the Kellen Moore era?
I'm going to say, first of all, not falling behind. And if they don't do that, I think they'll be able to run the ball. So I think running the ball is going to be key in this game. But to do that, you can't fall behind 14-0.
You know, I meant to, when we were talking about the defense, I did mean to ask that. Matt wrote about this week, but Luke, do you see any common denominator in these bad starts? I mean, we talked about this Wednesday, but 14-0 down, 4 straight weeks, or not 14-0, but 14 points in your first 2 drives, 4 straight weeks.
No, I mean, like even in the Patriots games, like they got him right where they wanted them on that opening third down, and they couldn't get off the field, and then you hit on an explosive with a busted coverage, and I think that's the thing where it just kind of feels like whack-a-mole with this defense sometimes, where the problem one week is not the problem the next week, but like you're still getting the same results every time. So I don't. They got to get it fixed, obviously. Like you are putting yourself at a significant disadvantage if you're trying to crawl out of a 14-point hole every week. They've done an admirable job of putting themselves in position to make a game out of it late every time, or even win like they did against the Giants. But I mean, they've got to be better, and I think they've done an okay job starting faster lately offensively. But they got to make those points count, and not give up the touchdowns early, because that just throws your whole game plan out of whack.
Yeah, I'm with Rod. This is a little bit of a sidebar, but we'll go back to keys of the game. Like, they haven't played from ahead. Buffalo's probably the closest they've been to that, and even that wasn't really playing from ahead. The Giants game they won, they were down 14-3. You got to play from ahead at some point, to kind of control a game and get some wins. So, Luke, what's your key?
I mean, I think it's simple to me. It's the Bears have won 3 straight games. They've forced 9 turnovers in those games. 11 turnovers in those 3 games. The Raiders outplayed them. The Raiders are a terrible team. They're like in the Saints class. The Raiders outplayed them for like the entire game. They turned the ball over 4 times. Washington probably would have won that game if Jaden Daniels was holding on to the snap there, or had a chance to win that game. He fumbled the snap, and that stuff is going to be so important this week. They've got to hang on to the ball. And weirdly enough, like the Saints, I was looking this up this week. Like, they've only committed 4 turnovers through 6 weeks. They are only one of 3 teams in the Super Bowl era to have committed that few turnovers through 6 games and have only won 1 game. And they are, if you look at like the point differential all time in the Super Bowl era, this is like dating back to 1968. For teams who only have 4 turnovers through 6 games, only 1 team in that whole span of time, I think it was the 71 Jets, have a worse point differential than the Saints, who are like minus 48 right now. So, like, not only do they have to take care of the football against a ball hawking defense, but then they have to make that matter. But I think if they end up getting into the point where they are turning the ball over, they're going to have no chance in this game.
Yeah. Jeff?
To me, it's all those things we talked about, but they've got to get better in 2 key situations for me. The red zone we've talked about before, but when I looked at those stats on Rattler, that's one area where he really needs to improve. I think he's completing 45% of his passes in the red zone. Now, some of those are drops, but still 45% is not good enough. It feels like what opponents are doing is they're playing soft coverage for the most part, too deep, preventing the big play because they know they've got speed on the perimeter, and Rashid and Rolave, letting them drive down, and then they're not worried about the big play, getting beat deep in the red zone, and then the Saints' inability to make plays in the red zone, not just Rattler, but everyone getting open, having a big physical target in the red zone really starts to kind of be revealed. I think that's how opponents look at the Saints. Let's force them to drive down the field, and they're doing it, but they're not cashing in with touchdowns. I think people will live with that. So they got to get better at that. I think part of that falls on Kellen Moore being a little more creative in his play calling. They've got to be able to run the ball better in the red zone. They're not a great running team so far. That's where it starts, I think, because that would help Rattler out a little bit. And then they've got to get better on third down. There was an unbelievable stat. I don't know if y'all saw that the other day about Rattler, 3rd and 8 or longer, has only converted 1 of 25 of those. Now, I know that's 3rd and 8 is not easy.
I think Drake May had like 4 of those. In the
He
last
had,
game.
yeah, just had a bunch of them in that game.
Yeah.
Sealed the game with a 3rd and 11. That's an area he's got to get better at. I mean, he's in a lot of those. He shouldn't be in that many 3rd and longs. That says a little bit about what, the penalties they had early in the year, I think, put them into tough situations. But his 3rd down numbers, those 2 areas are where he's lacking, where he's not made the jump yet. And that's going to be critical in a game like this. I mean, situational football is how games are won and lost.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, time for our Saints versus Bears predictions. Time for a shout-out. Last week, YouTube viewer at Chip McDonald IL1LF. I don't know if you're from Illinois and you're a left fielder or what that is, but Chip picked the Patriots to beat the Saints 24-19.
Damn.
That's pretty damn good.
Scoregami.
Final score was 25-19. It was not scoregami, but Chip almost nailed it. So shout out to you, Chip. Leave your prediction in the comments below. We'll shout out the closest prediction next week. So what is your Saints-Bears final score? And we are going to start with Matt Paris, who is already in Chicago, and he has an upset. He's got the Saints beating the Bears 26-20 and getting their first road win. Rod, what you got?
I have the Saints winning 20-17. I don't really feel good about this pick.
Wow.
I don't feel good about it. But I did cut the Saints off at 20 points because that's kind of the threshold for this team, it feels like. But yeah, I picked them to win, and I won't pick them the next 2 weeks for sure. So
Just getting it out of the way.
Now or never.
I felt on the LSU Insider podcast, I felt forced into picking Vandy because every single person picked LSU, and so I felt obligated to Vandy's favorite in that game. Like,
I think LSU's going to wax them.
I'm with you. Like you pick it, and you're like, I don't know about this, but I'm going with the Bears, and I don't feel great about it either. But I have 27-23 Bears. The turnover regression is going to come for the Bears, but as you mentioned, Luke, it's also going to come for the Saints. Like, they're going to start turning the ball over more than they have. They've been lucky in that thus far. This is going to be a sloppy weather game. Just don't trust the Saints to pull it out in the end. 27-23 Bears.
Yeah, I'm going 27-23 also, but I'm picking the Saints. And like Rod, I don't feel good about it at all. I've picked the Saints one time this year where I didn't feel good about them, and it ended up biting me in the butt. But I'm going to do it again. And really, this is based off of nothing but gut. I think the Bears are probably a lot closer in class to the Saints than they are to the Bills or even the 49ers before the 49ers had some of those defensive injuries, definitely the Seahawks. Like, I think the Saints have played better teams close, and at some point they're going to play a team that is kind of like a middle-of-the-pack team to win. And I feel like this is one of those where maybe people are going to be surprised by it, but I wouldn't necessarily be surprised. I don't feel good about it. I don't feel confident about it. But at some point they're gonna pull one of these out, and this feels like a good week to do it.
Yeah, they're not so bad. They're going to lose all of these games. They're going to beat somebody. Jeff, you're not so sure about that. They've been close every week except one. I mean,
and the Bears are coming off of a short week. That might.
And they're fat and happy, as Jeff likes to say. They've won 3 in a row.
I picked the Bears. I got to see the Saints prove it to me win on the road, something like that. I will say this though. I think early is going to be important. I mean, I don't think they can fall in the hole again. I think if the Saints get a lead, it might flip the pressure on the Bears. I mean, the Bears are not like Luke said, they're 3-2, but they're kind of a shaky team. And I think if you can get a lead on them and flip the pressure on them at home, I mean, the Bears fans can be ruthless on the Bears, and you can turn that into like an advantage on the road. So if they get ahead early, I think they could win the game easily. But I think it also could be a game where things fall apart. There's some crazy stuff. I've covered a lot of games at Soldier Field. There's been some crazy stuff happen there. It tends to get crazy, especially in this potential weather game.
I think the last time I was there, C.J. Gardner-Johnson did the too small thing to Tariq Cohen.
Yes.
And did they end up getting in a fist fight? Or
no, that was a different Bears player.
well, that was two. Okay.
When he did the fake change.
Yeah.
Soldier Field and C.J. Gardner-Johnson is like. It's like the meme of the
he's
guy
available.
throwing something in and
It's back
stepping
available
back.
on the market.
I
All
wonder
right, so
why
Jeff,
that is.
for the record, your pick was 24-16
Yeah.
Bears. Norman, thumbs up, thumbs down. He's saying Saints
Whoa.
win it. So we got 4 out of 6 picking
we
the
are going to
underdog
look terrible on
Saints.
I
Sunday.
feel like I'm making up ground this week.
Yeah, I think I am too.
The Saints have beat the Bears 8 times in a row for what it's worth.
Tyson Bagent ain't walking through that door. He might be. He is the backup still. So that's the last time the Saints played the Bears. All right, that is it for our podcast today. We will be back with a post-game show after the game on Sunday. For our producer, Norman Bell, Roderick, Lucas, Jeffrey, Zachary, we'll see you next time. Go Mariners.
Zachariah?
Zachariah's better.